as far as the business of boxing.
The best thing is the fighter needs to take almost everything.
You paid all that money and had the biggest stage in boxing on Netflix, and that is really the best they could do?
He knew that he could not beat Bud Crawford, which is why they basically paid him $100 million.
Canelo recently revealed on Joe Rogan's podcast that he didn't give his full effort against Crawford after the loss. He admitted to holding back in the ring, fighting at half speed, staying flat-footed, and allowing Crawford to appear sharper than he really was. Canelo suggested that financial and business factors influenced how the fight played out, even acknowledging that he was paid to ease off and not compete with his usual intensity.
Well, how does that work? Because it's not pay-per-view. Do they still...
Netflix putting up the money.
So I'm saying, so they don't get no back end then?
No, there is no back end. There's ticket sales.
Yeah, because you know pay-per-view, the back end is the most.
There's no pay-per-view.
I guess if you give me $50 million up front, I don't really care about a back end.
Canelo's comments only confirmed what many in the boxing world suspected right after the fight. Both fans and analysts noticed something felt off in his performance. He rarely used his jab, a tool that had defined much of his success, and never strung together his usual combinations. Instead of applying steady pressure, he relied on single punches, stood flat-footed, and showed little urgency as the rounds slipped away. The punch stats backed it up, ranking among the lowest totals of his entire career. At first, people chalked it up to age or decline, but his admission completely changed the narrative.
He don't have the punching power, but he has the skills that's necessary.
Crawford.
Yeah.
So you were very impressed with his performance? Would you say?
Well, yeah. The point of the matter is, I knew if it came down to if somebody got knocked out, I thought Boff would probably get knocked out.
Yeah.
But I know about
Oscar De La Hoya was among the first to raise doubts. Just hours after the fight, he took to social media, questioning whether Canelo had truly prepared or if something else was at play. Having promoted Canelo for years, De La Hoya said the performance didn't resemble the fighter he knew. In past training camps, Canelo's sharpness and high output were undeniable. Yet against Crawford, he looked like a completely different fighter. For De La Hoya, it wasn't just about age or decline. The display was simply too uncharacteristic.
When he got hit by Crawford and he took that deep breath, he's frustrated. Don't get me wrong. Canelo facing the right opponent that's going to stay in front of him, that's going to fight, that's going to make it a brawl, Canelo knocks him out. So I'm not saying Canelo's shot or done. No, it's far from.
Veteran fighter Gabe Rosado also shared his perspective, noting that Canelo looked flat-footed, threw no real jab, avoided combinations, and relied on single punches. To Rosado, it resembled the kind of showing you'd expect from a fighter long past his prime, not from a reigning champion. His remarks lined up with what Canelo later admitted. In past battles with Golovkin and other top opponents, Canelo had used double jabs, sharp counters, and relentless pressure. But against Crawford, as Rosado highlighted, all of that was missing.
Watching Bud catch those shots off his glove,
he looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah. He'd go to a body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that seem...
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that to, ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo.
Ever. Yeah, he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. And Canelo said it, he goes, I couldn't figure him out.
No.
Which is...
Larissa Shields offered another angle, suggesting Canelo's body was simply breaking down. She pointed out that he couldn't move effectively. His combinations were gone, and his legs had nothing left. Signs in her eyes of a long career nearing its end. At the time, that explanation seemed reasonable. Meanwhile, David Benavidez, one of Canelo's fiercest rivals, stuck to his long-standing criticism. Even before the Crawford fight, he argued that Canelo carefully chose opponents where he held the advantage, while avoiding the toughest challenges. Afterward, Benavidez doubled down, claiming the performance showed Canelo had no interest in taking real risks anymore.
Any advice for them for his boxing business?
Because, you know, the fighters always get the less money. And some of the fighters, they need to take the money, the guarantee money, right? Because they don't make a lot of money in the fights, right? But they are as a fighter.
According to Benavidez and many others, Canelo's focus was simply the payday. While some fans were shocked, Benavidez wasn't. He even predicted that Canelo would continue down this path. Oscar De La Hoya, speaking to Fight Hype, offered a different take. For him, the Crawford fight wasn't about decline, but about styles. He rejected the idea that Alvarez is finished, though he admitted Canelo's future relies heavily on smart matchmaking. De La Hoya explained that if Canelo is paired with the right kind of opponent, someone who stands in front of him, trades punches, and makes it a brawl, Canelo still has the power to finish the fight with a knockout. So I'm not saying he's done, De La Hoya said. Far from it. It's just about the matchmaking, about who you put in front of him, and about squeezing the last big fights for the fans.
You see, Canelo is a strong fighter, and every punch he throws comes with power, right? That breaks down the body. Physically, his body is breaking down. Plus, he just had a kid. Canelo wants to go enjoy his life. He wants to keep his wits, keep his mind together, stay sharp, and go enjoy a little bit of that money that he just made. But he could not pass the torch to somebody that didn't respect the game. Canelo's at the top of the list. But Terence
De La Hoya maintains that Canelo can still compete at the elite level, but only against opponents whose styles suit him. Eddie Hearn, however, sees things through a different lens. Speaking with Sports Illustrated, he highlighted both the commercial appeal and the sporting intrigue of a Crawford rematch. For Hearn, the real storyline is whether Canelo can silence the retirement talk. Fans want to know if Alvarez can make adjustments, or if Crawford will push him closer to the exit, Hearn explained. He suggested that Canelo might still surprise people, pointing to his history of reinventing his tactics. In Hearn's view, Alvarez has the ability to adapt, develop a new approach, and put Crawford in genuine danger the next time around.
Mac, you've been training Crawford for years. Is he retired or is he going to keep fighting?
He just got to take a break.
Is Terence Crawford retired or is he going to keep fighting?
Oh, he's going to keep fighting.
He's going to keep fighting?
Yeah.
You're the man. Be man. Hey, congratulations. Enjoy the win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In their first meeting, Canelo actually looked sharp in the early stages. He controlled the opening rounds with crisp counters and kept Crawford on edge. But as the fight wore on, the momentum shifted. From rounds 9 through 12, Crawford took over, landing the cleaner punches and pushing Alvarez onto the back foot. For many watching, that late surge was the deciding factor. Hearn believes that with a smarter game plan for the championship rounds, Canelo could turn the tables in a rematch.
We knew Crawford is a great fighter, and I did what I supposed to do, right? I tried for every way, and I trained really hard, and he deserved all the credit. No,
Chris Eubank Jr. shares that same confidence, calling a rematch massive and insisting Canelo has the tools to rewrite the story. In his view, Alvarez's experience and power remain unmatched if he applies them the right way. His comments echoed what many fighters believe. Canelo is still dangerous, but he has to prove he's willing to adapt. Trainer Robert Garcia has also voiced support for a second fight, stressing that hunger will be the key factor. Speaking to Fight Hype, Garcia said that if Alvarez returns with the fire he once had, he could beat Crawford. For Garcia, the solution is clear. Avoid the tactical mistakes of the first bout and apply pressure from start to finish, using his power instead of fading late. That perspective reflects the larger consensus in the boxing world. Canelo's skills are still there, but whether he can summon the mental drive to unleash them will ultimately decide his future.
I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit, but don't.
For Crawford, the victory over Alvarez, whether or not it played out as planned, has opened up new possibilities. The question now is who he faces next. Some analysts believe he'll steer clear of the most dangerous opponents. Fighters like David Benavidez, Dmitry Bivol, Diego Pacheco, and Bektemir Melikuziev carry serious risks with their size, strength, and power, all of which could disrupt Crawford's slick style. Taking on those names would mean high risk with uncertain reward. Instead, many expect Crawford to target big money matchups with recognizable names who present less danger. Opponents such as Jermall Charlo or Hamza Shiraz.
Potential rematch, as a Canelo fan, I don't really want to see that. I don't think there will be much difference. I don't think Canelo can bring anything to the table that's going to surprise Crawford. He's a different fighter now. If this was 10 years ago, yes, I think the fight could have gone a different way. But there's no point in even thinking that because Canelo's a different fighter now. They fought today. They fought when Crawford is older as well, so I can't be trying to say, well, Canelo's not in his...
This is where the business side of boxing takes center stage. Crawford's win has put him in a position to command massive paydays, but his choice of opponents will dictate how long he can maintain that leverage. On the other side, Canelo's next move will shape the entire landscape. If he goes straight for redemption against Crawford, The rematch would draw global attention, but if he chooses a safer path against a more favorable style, it could be a sign that his career is moving into its closing chapters.
Between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. Personally, I do not want to see a rematch. Usually rematches are in order when it's a very close fight and you can't really tell, which fighter won. There's a lot of close rounds, swing rounds. That wasn't the case in this fight. Terence Crawford won pretty handedly. I personally scored the fight 9-3. Being generous, you can give it 8-4. Now,
while many accuse Canelo of chasing paydays, most agree that not even the money can shield him from the consequences of taking the Crawford fight. The reality is, boxing today is driven by money matches. Whether a fighter is past his prime or clearly slowing down doesn't matter. If the numbers are huge, the fight happens. That's exactly what unfolded here. Canelo was already showing signs of decline, but the financial pull of a Crawford showdown was impossible to resist. The problem is, while the checks keep getting bigger, the wear and tear on the body never stops. For Canelo, this might have been the payday that cost him the most.
The Coca-Cola I'm buying. I risk my life in the ring, and everybody's making money too. It's not that they don't making money; they making money, but the fighter need to make more than everybody.
Coach Ronnie Shields didn't hold back after the loss. He immediately said it was time for Canelo to retire. Speaking with Fight Hub TV, Shields explained that what he saw against Crawford told him everything he needed to know. The energy was gone, the sharpness was gone, and the relentless pressure that once defined Canelo just wasn't there. For Shields, this isn't about switching trainers or adjusting tactics, it's about time catching up. He put it bluntly. No coach alive can save Canelo at this stage. Firing Eddie Reynoso or bringing in someone new wouldn't matter, because the issue isn't strategy. It's that Canelo's body no longer responds the way it once did, and no amount of training can turn back the clock.
To have just one name at 160, 154, it's just hard for him, ideally, to just see a fight. No names resonating at the moment. Would you be okay to see him retire?
I would. Look, he's had a great career also. Yes, he's older, but...
Oscar De La Hoya, however, offered a different perspective. From a promoter's standpoint, he suggested Canelo could extend his career by parting ways with Eddie Reynoso and bringing in a fresh voice in the corner, maybe even someone like Ronnie Shields. But Shields quickly shut that idea down, insisting the problem runs deeper than coaching. As he explained, Canelo has been competing at the highest level since his teenage years. That's decades of training camps, punishing fights, and physical wear. In contrast, Crawford has fewer bouts, less accumulated damage, and fresher legs. Shields said Canelo's body is already sending him a clear message. It's time to stop. And the longer he ignores those signals, the harsher the consequences will be.
Yeah, look, the only thing I can tell him or give him advice in is get a new trainer. I can't advise him on retiring or staying in box. That's a very personal decision. But I can say, hey, get a new trainer. You'll do.
And the signs are hard to ignore. Ever since the Dimitri Bivol fight in May 2022, Canelo hasn't looked quite the same. Yes, he kept winning, but the dominance was gone. He hasn't scored a stoppage. He's faded late in fights, and he's been matched against opponents he could handle even at a slower pace. Crawford was a different story. Canelo couldn't use size to bully him, and once the fight went into the later rounds, his conditioning gave out. In the end, Shields has a point. The body always tells the truth sooner or later.